So recently I was playing 100 Mario Challenge and I stumbled over a lot of levels that were seemingly impossible. Mario had to either survive insane RNG, or he had to do jumps that seemed impossible, solve puzzles with no solution. Stuff like that. The problem with those stages was, none of them was actually impossible. In fact, they simply had a hidden block somewhere that allowed to skip the stage. The thing is, having a secret question block is no longer a secret exit, it's almost expected by now, if a level seems to be impossible. So I sat down and scribbled together 70 signs for Super Mario Maker levels that are really seemingly impossible. 70 signs that use cool tricks, weird glitches or obscure mechanics to build stages that only the creator of the level can beat. So you ready? Let's do this. So the first, seemingly impossible room in which Mario finds himself is this one. Here our plumber is trapped in this area with nothing but a Goomba shoe. If our plumber ever wants to leave this boring room, he needs to find a way to defeat this evil muncher, and he needs to find a key as well. The problem is, there is nothing in this room. No hidden question block, no power block, no key, not even an evil fire-spitting plant. So how is Mario ever supposed to escape? Well, the answer is all he needs to do is to jump out of his Goomba shoe in order to trigger a completely hidden power block and to obtain a completely hidden key. Okay, so what just happened there? First, shout out to a YouTuber, which I believe to be pronounced Tatiaus. He uploaded a couple of really well-made videos about weird Super Mario Maker glitches and weird mechanics, and I learned a ton of new stuff by watching those videos, including this trick. I highly recommend everyone who is interested in weird Mario Maker mechanics to check his channel out. You can find the link in the description. So as it turns out, Big Mario is able to hit power blocks and question blocks that are above a ground tile when jumping out of a Goomba shoe. The timing to do this is really easy. All we need to do is to jump out of our majestic shoe at the moment the shoe hits the ground block, and Mario's head will magically extend through the block. In the first room there were simply power blocks and a key containing question block hidden at the top that made the room seemingly impossible. Now Mario is entrapped in a new room. Once again he has to find a way to obtain a key in order to escape, but once again this seems to be impossible. At least he's not alone in here, since his BFF Yoshi is with him. All that our dinosaur plumber duo has to work with here is a spring and a feather that spawns at the top. If they want to obtain the key, they need to find a way to trigger a hidden contraption to their right. So what are they supposed to do? Well, they need to use a really old glitch, which as it turns out is still not patched. If Yoshi eats a feather and spits it out on top of a spring, then the poor feather becomes really confused because everything is so bouncy and decides to leave its feather nest behind in order to become a mushroom. I know this sounds strange, but take a look, that's literally what happens. The feather stops to wiggle and jumps up and down on top of the spring. If Yoshi now eats the spring, the feather slowly moves along the bottom, like a mushroom, travels down the hidden path and triggers a small key obtaining contraption. Hooray! Here's another really weird mechanic I recently found by accident. So once again Mario is entrapped in a room that is seemingly impossible to beat. I start to see a pattern here. Anyway, this time he has nothing to work with but a couple of bumpers at the top. These bumpers bounce Mario away from them if he tries to jump into them and seem to have a really great time in general. But Mario isn't here for bouncing, but to save his beloved princess who probably got kidnapped. But how to escape this room? While all of the bumpers appear to be the same at first glance, one of them is actually special because one of them is able to trigger a P-switch. This one. So how is this bumper able to trigger a P-switch? Well, Mario needs to duck and then to jump into it, and the P-switch will suddenly become triggered. This only works with this bumper and only if Mario duck jumped into it. So how does this work? Well, it's actually surprisingly simple. We use a neat little quirk in Mario's famous point of calculation here. At the top is a simple anti-jump form that triggers once Mario's vertical position reaches this height. If Mario jumps into the bumper normally, his famous point of calculation stays on the tile below and the form continues to slumber. If Mario ducks while jumping, however, for some strange reason, his famous calculation point is a tiny bit higher, just high enough to activate the form. Hooray! Here's a quick little, seemingly impossible level trick I learned as well when watching Tatiaus' awesome trick showcases. So Mario isn't able to enter pipes that are one block above note blocks, and so he once again seems to be imprisoned in this room. But luckily, T. Yoshisaur Manchakoopas is with him and allows him to enter the seemingly unenterable pipe. All that Mario needs to do here is to drive his dinosaur below the note block and to park him there. If Yoshi is parked below a note block, the note block continues to bounce, which is a really strange mechanic in general and which makes it possible for a plumber to enter the pipe. So let's take a look at a seemingly impossible to beat room that does not require game knowledge in order to beat it, but but skill. Here we combine 3 little tricks to create a really challenging jump. So first, if Mario ground pounds, he gains a little bit of additional height, which allows him to land his ground pound 1 tile above him, even though he usually can't jump that high. Second, if Mario drops a spring while jumping, it is possible to jump off of it again and to jump further and higher than usually possible. And third, it's possible to wall jump with items by throwing them before hitting the wall and catching them afterwards. So the idea here is to combine all those tricks. There is a platform at the top which Mario can't reach by using a mid-air spring jump. But if Mario wall jumps with the spring, then catches the spring after the wall jump and then mid-air spring jumps off of the spring he just threw, then he's able to gain enough height to ground pound at the top in order to land on the top of the platform. Awesome, isn't it? This way Mario is able to travel 17 blocks upwards just by using a single spring. So I did this a couple of times and then this happened. Here Mario reached the bridge at the top without the ground pound. This made me wonder if it is actually possible to jump 18 blocks using this trick, and yup, it was. But not only is it possible to jump 18 blocks, it actually happened once again without the need for a ground pound. So I tried if it is possible to put the bridge even 1 block higher. That's so high that we can't even see the bridge when doing a normal mid-air spring jump, and it took me forever to get it once, but as it turns out, yep, that works as well. But the timing to get this is really tight. Next, let's take a look at a seemingly impossible puzzle. Here Mario needs to obtain a key by booming this bob-omb, and he needs to bring the spring to the right in order to spring jump up towards the door. The problem is the following. Mario needs to place the spring below the muncher first and then to activate the P-switch for the bob-omb to boom. But then he has no access to the spring anymore. If he takes the spring with him, however, there is no way to obtain the key. So at first glance this seems impossible, but it can actually be beaten by using a really neat glitch, the entangled spring glitch. If Mario grabs the spring while an object is bouncing on it, the game becomes confused. The position of the spring stays where it was, even though Mario is allowed to take the spring with him. Once Mario drops the spring will bounce at the position where it was before, even though it's not there anymore. This allows us to solve the puzzle, since it is now possible for Mario to activate the bob-omb remotely. Hooray! Okay, so let's take a look on our final, seemingly unbeatable stage. For the last time today, Mario finds himself trapped in a room. The exit here is blocked by a bullet blaster and there is nothing hidden to interact with here. But there are 4 donut blocks at the bottom. So these 4 donut blocks are no ordinary donut blocks. They're actually a hidden combination lock kinda thingy. Mario has to drop down a certain amount of donut blocks in the right order for the exit pipe to open up. He needs to first drop this donut block down exactly 8 times, and then he needs to drop down the other donut block to the left once, and the exit opens up. If Mario drops any other donut block down, the secret combination lock becomes locked, and beating this area becomes impossible. If Mario enters the right code here, however, the bullet blaster drops down, and he is able to leave. So how are we able to convert drop donut blocks into usable information here? Well, it's actually surprisingly simple. YouTube user Kaizo recently told me in a comment about a really cool little glitch. If a donut block drops on top of a cannon, the cannon slightly moves upwards. We can use these magically wandering cannons to boom bob-ombs. The combination lock works this way. First we need to make the cannon wander upwards 8 times in order to open up the path for the shell. And then we need to drop down this donut block for the shell to travel towards the blaster. All other inputs block the path for the shell. And here we have it, 7 seemingly impossible levels in Super Mario Maker. Huge shout out to Tatiaus again. Huge shout out to the Kaizo Mario Maker Wiki, where tons of glitches and interesting mechanics are collected by the community, and huge shout out to Psychro for telling me about these places. I hope all of you enjoyed this little video. If you did, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and maybe you feel especially like doing the seemingly impossible today and wanted the subscribe button as well. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!